realness. All right, Fatty, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Theo, you there?
I'm here.
Introducing authentic realness. Realness. Hello, and hello again. We are back for yet another episode of our Authentic Realness podcast. And we thank you all for being here. This is Aaron R. Plush, and it is always my pleasure to have yet another episode. So tonight, Fabi is away, but Theo and I are holding down the fort, and I think we can handle it, brother, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. That's what we do.
Good stuff, brother. It's always good to have you on. Anything front of mind for you tonight as to saying hello to our audience?
It's a time to be alive. I'm just grateful with life and just inspired with life and just enjoying the moment and happy to be here.
Absolutely, brother. That's good stuff. And it's always great to see you in a place of gratitude. You've been here since your birthday, and it's inspiring. I pray and I implore you to just keep pushing forward, because certainly I know that life is lifing for you and all of us.
Oh, for
But
sure.
but to be in a place of gratitude and thanking God for who He is and what He's granting every day is such an amazing and wonderful and beautiful place to be. So good stuff, brother.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
All right, well, let's jump right in. And tonight's episode, I am going to tie it into what this podcast is all about. And as I say, every podcast episode of this Authentic Realness podcast, that the core of this is the 8 services that I offer as the consultant. And tonight, I want to talk about something that's very important for all of us, and it's owning our career. I can't tell you all how often, from a mentorship perspective, that this particular topic comes up. I can't tell you how many times I've seen in corporate settings as well as entrepreneurial settings just the woe is me attitude that so many people have when it comes to career. And one of the things that comes to mind for me, Theo, is when I think about people who are constantly upset with their company, that their career is not going on the trajectory that they desire. They're not being promoted. They're not being elevated. They're not being moved in the way that they should. And it always turns into it's the company's fault. And I'm here to just say to everyone that your career trajectory and that path is one that has to be owned by one person, and that's you. Now, certainly the company can assist. Certainly your manager can assist. Certainly mentors can assist. Certainly anyone can assist. And even this whole concept of having sponsors, where there are people who are talking on your behalf when you're not in the room, which is certainly an amazing and wonderful thing to have. But at the beginning and the end of the day, it begins with you, that you as the individual have to identify, what is it that I want out of my career? And most importantly, what do I want out of life? Because what I have found is that when you understand what you want out of life, that helps you to be able to define career path. It helps you to be able to define the direction in which you're moving. And it helps you to get an understanding that, hey, this is what I want out of life. And because this is what I want out of life, this is the career path that's going to help me to get there. Now, as a part of that, my own personal experience has always been passion. I tell people all the time that when you follow your passion, when you follow those things that you're just naturally great at doing, and you begin to put those things together from a vantage point of how do I take what I'm passionate about, what I'm great with, and transitioning that into this is what I'm going to do from a career perspective. This is what I'm going to do at work. You're going to be unstoppable. I'm going to stop there, Theo, just kind of get your perspective on where passion falls in this whole concept of owning your career. And then we can take this conversation forward.
For me, the biggest thing is when it comes to passion and owning your career is it almost equates to what it definitely equates to for me is when you're passionate about something, it doesn't become work. It becomes life.
Sure. And it
So
is
in,
like,
so in those times where you're frustrated with work, it won't seem like it's work because it's passion driven.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then I'd tell you, Theo, in certain terms, and definitely have to stop passing the buck. We have to stop acting as if it's everyone else's fault that things are not happening the way that we want. That we have to take that sole accountability and responsibility and align ourselves properly. Now, am I saying that you can move up the career ladder by yourself? No, because you definitely will need those sponsors. You will need those mentors. You will need those people that are cheerleaders, those people who are assisting you, those people who are correcting you, those people who are helping you, those people who are supporting you, those people who become your employees begin to help push you. All of that's important. But it's important for you to be the one who defines that roadmap. And certainly, by all means, that roadmap can be defined with assistance. But we all have to understand that taking ownership of our career begins and ends with us. From a personal perspective, I can tell you all that this path of me being on consulting came exactly from me having the conversation that I'm having with you all right now with myself and really being able to understand what are my God given gifts and talents? What are those things that I come here with that I naturally know that I both love doing, but I also do well? And that is what led me to understanding that the whole concept of consulting, where I can hear what it is that a company, an individual, a conglomerate, or whomever is attempting to do, and then coming back and working with them and devising that strategy to say, here's the action plan of how we work to get there. That comes natural for me because I'm such a detail oriented kind of guy. And again, that's not the cliche, oh, I'm in the interview, I'm detail oriented. No, no, no. The reality of my life is the detail is at the core of every component of the essence of who Aaron R. Plush is. That I see things that makes a difference. I understand the importance of being methodical while still yet looking at things from the vantage point of understanding that not only do I have to be methodical, but I have to prioritize. And what that helps me to understand and to do is to know that everything does not have to be done in the same sequence, that everything doesn't have to be done right now. But it takes a combination of prioritization where I identify that, well, hey, I have 30 things that I'm thinking that I need to get done today. That's not going to happen. I have an 8-hour window to get 30 things done. Impossible. But of the 30, what are those things that are imperative that I get done today? From a prioritization perspective, I identify what those key items are, knock those out first, and those other items, hey, tomorrow's still going to come. Communicate to those people that those things may impact, let them know, and strategize together and move this thing forward. So, in all of that, it's that same level of mindset that is necessary when you're defining that process where you're saying, hey, what do I want out of my career? How am I going to define my career trajectory? How am I going to own my career path? What have you found, Theo, in defining your own career path as being both those obstacles as well as those things that you think that you've done exceptionally well that's helping you to progress forward?
It's just going back to that, just making sure it's something that I really like to do and make sure that it's a part of me. If
Okay.
it's not an innate quality, something that I could just do without practicing or studying. I know that sounds lazy, but It has to be something that I can do that's just a part of my everyday regimen.
Okay.
So finding out those things about myself, it helped me understand, hey, you're an analyst. You love data.
Hmm.
So that's the jobs that I've been able to withhold because that's something that's an innate quality about myself.
Okay.
So
Good
just making
stuff.
sure you actually like it,
Good
and
stuff.
it's a part of your life.
Yeah. And the key part in you saying that, like, yes, it is important that you have passion, you love what you do, you enjoy what you do, but no, this may not necessarily be the path for everyone. So, one of the
Hmm.
things that I always want to be very clear on is that everything that we present here is a vantage point and a perspective. It's not the only one because we are intelligent enough in these parts to understand of the 8 billion people of the world. And I say this so often, there are different ways of doing things. This experience is all about sharing those gems, those nuggets, those significant things that have worked in the land of Aaron R. Plush, the consultant. And I no longer want to hold these things hostage from a vantage point where I'm just not sharing it because I understand what would it have been for me to live a life where these are life experiences that I've had, that they've helped me, that they've gotten me to where I am, and then for me to not share them with other people. That some of those things that I had to learn the hard way, that you would have the opportunity that you don't have to learn it the hard way. That you very well may learn these things from a vantage point of listening to this episode. Because for many of us, contrary to popular belief, if someone tells me that the stove is hot, I don't have to go behind that person to touch the stove. I know it's hot. So the person told me it was hot. Oh, well, done deal. Don't have to touch it. So if there's something that I can learn from you, Theo, where you tell me, hey, Plush, in the journey of your career, one of the things that I've learned in establishing my own personal owning of my career path, I've learned that I needed to align it with passion. I needed to align it with things that I enjoy doing. I needed to align it with prioritization. I can take that and run with it. So the imploring tonight, because of course that's our buzzword of the time that we are imploring folks. So tonight we're going to implore you to truly think about the concept that you can no longer be in a space of woe is me when it comes to your career path. It's up to you.
Hmm.
And a large part of that being up to you is stepping back, taking a critical assessment of self, looking at your skills, both those things that you do exceptionally well, but also those opportunities, and allowing that to define what it is that you truly want out of your career. Now, for those of you that potentially are thinking about that path of consulting, I'd love to have conversations with you. So reach out because, again, I want to make sure that as many people as possible that I can help to be successful, that I indeed do that. There's nothing easy about the consulting world. There's nothing easy about finding the work in the consulting world. There's nothing easy about the day to day operations of consulting. But what I have found is that this is what I love. This is what I'm passionate about. It's not work for me. This is a component of who I am. Now understand that work doesn't consume me. My work doesn't make me. My work is not my life. My work is something that I do. So in that, Theo, when you think about me and my journey as a consultant, and certainly you've worked with me now in the capacity of working on this particular podcast, developing the podcast. You've been a former client of mine, and we've worked in so many other capacities. When you think about that holistically, what you know about my career and everything that you know about me, is there anything that you would think that comes front of mind that I'm not sharing right now that would be significant for the audience to hear in relation to owning of career?
I would say the thing that comes front of mind is show me a time where a client did not gain something.
Mm. And that doesn't exist.
There you go.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a significant one because ultimately, for me, you're right that it's all about the holistic experience, and that it's a vetting process for me. Like in the consulting realm, all business is not good business for me. There are certain clients that I've had to pass up on, be it from a timing perspective, and or it just wasn't a good fit. It wasn't something that I wanted to take on at that time. Didn't have the bandwidth for it. Didn't necessarily feel the right vibes with the potential client. Did not think that it would end well. Certainly, you all know the rescinded situation that I had with the full time role. In hindsight, the lesson learned from that was that although the role was rescinded, and as I talked about in that episode, although it was not illegal, certainly was unethical, but in hindsight, which is always 2020, I was able to identify in very certain terms that it just did not align. And that just was not where I was supposed to be. Now, God has seen fit that He's provided the new opportunities of what's next for me. And we're working on what those things are now. So I just thank God for always being in a position and a place that I can trust Him, and to know that although I may not always know what I'm doing, He always knows what He's doing. And because I trust Him, that has also helped me significantly in the owning of my career path, my career journey, and the owning of my career in general. In closing, what I would really recommend to anyone who's at that crossroad of saying that, hey, not necessarily sure that my career is going in the direction of like where to go. Let's talk. Like, you literally could schedule a consultation with me to talk about career pathing, to talk about career journey, to talk about owning of your career. And that certainly would fall under my management consulting realm. And that would be something I'd love to help you do, because it's something that I've been able to help so many of my mentees with, and general conversations that I've had in the workplace, be it on the corporate side or on the consulting side. And it's one of those things where ultimately, because I'm always going to challenge you, there's going to be something that's going to come out of it from a valuable place. So by all means, reach out. All of my details of how to reach me may be found on all of the platforms. And certainly, I look forward to having the opportunity to work with any of you to truly encourage you that owning your career is one that must be owned by you. And for those that are potentially interested in going the consulting route, certainly would love to have a conversation with you as well. So, in conclusion, for me, would love to have any conversations with anyone who would like to talk about career pathing, career journey, and owning of career. That there's no one that is going to own that for you. It's nobody's fault that your career is not going into the direction that it should. That's something that you have to own. And then if there's anyone that would like to talk to me more about my consulting experience and or a consulting journey for yourself, I am happy to have that conversation. What do you have in closing, Theo?
Take that time out for yourself and make sure that you're passionate. Make sure that it's something that you do well. Make sure it's something that you'll do when you don't feel like working. Make sure that it's something that you can commit to for life. That's when you own it, in my perspective.
Absolutely. Good stuff, brother. All right, let's look to the Lord. Well, Heavenly Father God, we come before you yet again, God, just thanking you for yet another amazing episode, God. God, this episode tonight is one that has been brewing for quite some time, because certainly, God, we know that there's so many individuals that are in a down place right now, God, when it comes to employment. There are so many people that are unemployed. There are so many people that have been in situations of layoffs, and they really may be at a crossroad, God, if they don't know what's next in their career. So, God, right now, we would ask that you would allow everyone that hears this episode to know that the owning of their career is a responsibility of their own. That anything that they want to do from a career pathing, a career trajectory, a career growth, and just owning of next steps of career, that is something that is truly one that must be owned by each individual. God, we would ask that you would just continue to cover all the listeners of this particular podcast, that you would put us all, God, in a better place than we were before listening to this particular episode, God. that you would give light, that you would give growth, that you would give development, God, that you would continue to lead and direct us all in the way, God, that we should go. God, we would ask that you would allow us to be light of the world, God, because certainly we know that there's so many dark and horrible things that are going on. God, I'd ask that you continue to cover my family, that you would be with Theo's family, that you would be with Fabi and her family as she's away, God. So, God, we love you, we adore you, and it's in the glorious and magnificent name of your son, Jesus, that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And then to our listeners, in our usual fashion, each and every one of you are the most important part of this Authentic Realness podcast. And for that, we say thank you. We thank you for everything that you are doing to support the podcast, to move us forward, to grow us, to develop us, and to make us into the amazing podcast that we are today. I also would implore anyone who is truly thinking about starting your own podcast to consider Buzzsprout, because my own personal experience has been that Buzzsprout is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to allowing you to upload your episode to one platform and then it be sent out to multiple other platforms. So for that, I truly encourage Buzzsprout. And then in our typical ending fashion, until next time, let us all be spectacular together.
Realness.